Is the United States based on biblical principle? Well, I think it is. And I'd like to talk a little bit about why I think it is. Let's go back to some historical documents. The Mayflower Compact was written on a ship on its way from Europe to the New World. The people on the ship were supposed to set up a new colony in Northern Virginia. Before they even got off the ship, they wrote up the Mayflower Compact and signed it. This was in November of 1620. And the interesting part is that the first phrase of the Mayflower Compact is, "In the name of God, Amen." Now, in the body of the Mayflower Compact, the first sentence in the body of the compact says, I'll read it to you. It says, "Having undertaken for the glory of God and advancement of the Christian faith." And it goes on to say later, "in the presence of God." Now, these folks were doing this because they wanted to advance the kingdom of Christian faith. They wanted to come over and set up a colony on Christian faith. Even the Declaration of Independence goes on to say, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Now, this is a famous quote from the Declaration of Independence. But I want to point out a few things to you. Where it says endowed by their Creator, the word Creator, they capitalized the C, much like we capitalize the G in God all throughout the Bible. Also, where he talks about that all men are created equal. In the Bible, in Mark 12:31, it tells us that we are to treat our neighbors as ourselves, love our neighbors as ourselves. Now, if we love our neighbors as ourselves, we are creating an equal environment that all men are created equal. So I see these things as coinciding, not coincidentally, but because these forefathers that wrote these historical documents were Christians and they were trying to set up this nation on Christian principle. Even the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States, where they're trying to guarantee that the government will not set up a national religion, much like England did years before, which caused people to want to leave. They were setting this up to make sure that didn't happen again. And here's what it says in the Constitution, First Amendment. It says, the government shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Now, this doesn't sound like something that they would add in because they weren't Christians and they weren't trying to set up this nation on Christian principle. Because they didn't care if you were Baptist or Methodist or Lutheran or Presbyterian. They wanted Christians, this to be a Christian nation. And all these denominations are all Christians. Now let's talk a little bit about the Founding Fathers. The Founding Fathers themselves. George Washington, in some of those famous battles in the winters of Valley Forge, where his troops had no shoes on, or holes in their shoes. Those closest to him, his lieutenants, were very adamant about how troubled he was about the conditions that his troops were having to face. They said that he would go off into the trees and find a secluded spot to kneel on his knees and pray in the snow. Now, if you're not a Christian, or if you're not a believer, you're not going to go out into the middle of the woods in the snow and pray. John Adams, he was president, the first president to live in the presidential mansion. He wrote a letter to his wife in November of 1800, and he wrote, I quote, "I pray heaven to bestow the best of blessings on this house and all that shall hereafter inhabit it. May none but honest and wise men ever rule over this house." Now, he was saying a prayer over the house that the president lives in, because he wanted those Christian principles to be passed on, to be brought into this house by subsequent presidents coming in. He wanted this country to be based on Christian principles. Um, to go back and say that they weren't trying to base it on Christian principles is hogwash. You can go back through the history books. Even the History Channel shows specials every now and then on George Washington and Valley Forge and they even mention him praying on those specials on the History Channel. These people, when they met at the Continental Congress open session every time with prayer, not only to pray for the proceedings, but also to pray for those that couldn't be there. These were not men that took being Christians lightly. They wanted this country to be founded on those principles and to raise this country to be as good as it could be, based on Christian principles. So you see, these are the reasons I think that it's based on biblical principles. And I hope that you will look into it more and come to agree. Because from everything I've seen and read with our forefathers, that was one of the biggest things on their mind was Christianity and having the ability to pray and the ability to be Christians and be free to be Christians, not like the Catholics of old England. But thank you for your time. Have a good day.